Good morning, everyone. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dagmawe Zhao, and I look after policy and regulatory within Safaricom Ethiopia. A very interesting conversations are happening starting from yesterday, and today I wanted to talk to you a bit about collaborative regulation as a way forward for Ethiopia and the continent. For those of you who were participating in this event yesterday, our CEO, Wim Vanlimput, suggested 7 building blocks in terms of accelerating digital growth and accelerating our service expansion and the growth of the industry. And as you know, in order to grow and accelerate digital transformation, regulation plays a very key part. Regulation either kill us or it can be an enabling platform where the industry and the users within the industry grow. So according to the ITU, there are 5 generations of regulations which they recommend. I will talk a bit about what these generations of regulations are and how they are characterized. And then I'll go to a bit about what they call the Generation 5 or the Gen Z in terms of regulation and its characteristics and how, it is prevalent in Ethiopia, what are some of the key elements within that and our experience as Safaricom Ethiopia. So Generation 1 regulation is basically characterized by regulated monopoly. There could be only one player. It is a command sort of approach. There is no collaboration. There is no dialogue within it. Generation 2 is a bit relaxed in terms of that. There is privatization. It could be very partial, but there is, in a sense, privatization within that market. Generation 3 tries to balance between allowing creativity, innovation, investment, but also it tries to, put, competition and customer protection in place as well. So it will not just allow innovation and competition to grow, but it will also see the interest of, consumers at hand. Generation 4 is something which most countries are now in, and this Generation 4 regulation is basically led by a very clear policies within the country's policy framework and regulatory framework, and all participating regulators follow that common agenda and work for, the common agenda and strategy of the country. But Generation 5 or the collaborative regulation space is where everyone wants to get at, because that's where the most dialogue, inclusive nature of putting laws and regulations and having a clear strategy come in place. So I will talk a bit about the key principles within collaborative regulation and what is our experience as Safaricom Ethiopia. So the first element is having a comprehensive technology-specific strategy. I think the Digital 2025 Ethiopia strategy encompasses this key principle. It has clarity in terms of what the country wants to do. It has consistency, and it is agile in its nature. Maybe we can add a bit about future technologies in terms of the IoT, robotics, and how we want to deal with them. And the fact that this policy was in place helped Safaricom Ethiopia and its shareholders to actually come into the country and invest. So having a very clear digital strategy would help attracting investment, would help the actors within the market to understand their role and to also play a pivotal role in terms of realizing that strategy coming to place. The second space is collaboration. We have an interesting story as Safaricom Ethiopia, as you know, when we come to Ethiopia as Safaricom, the first assignment is to really build a network. And in order for you to build a network, you need to import your equipment and you need to roll it out throughout the country. So far, we've built around 1,200 sites, and you know our country is that big. And if you see Safaricom Ethiopia's journey, it's not even full 3 years. So in order to import all those equipments and start rolling out our network in time, uh, around 7 government institutions, including our principal regulator, which is the ECA, needed to collaborate to make this a reality. And this is a big achievement for a country which opened up the sector in a very long time. And some of the equipments within this industry are advancing and disrupting. So we might not even have the full picture of what they are and how they operate. But that seamless cooperation amongst those regulatory bodies, call it the INSA, the ECA, the Investment Commission, allowed this company to actually, establish its business and roll out its network. So we can take this as an example to help us in terms of collaborating in other areas where we need a very agile regulations, where we need expansion of services, expansion of different players within the country. This silo way of working where the ECA regulates the telecom market and the INSA regulates something and they don't work in collaboration might not work, but this sort of collaboration really helps the realization of the first point that we've put, which is the digital strategies. The third point is around having a comprehensive licensing regime. I think we took the latecomer advantage on this, because if you see the Kenyan example, they have 3 or 4 sort of licenses, even within the telecom sector, that they need to, they need to really follow through and really comply with. And that, A, is costly. Second, it does not give you a comprehensive image of what's expected from you as a player, and that would sour the relationship with your regulators and also will not help in terms of achieving your goals. But for us, as you know, Safaricom has a unified telecommunication license, which every bit and pieces of the requirements are included in one license. So in terms of expectation and clarity, we have the needed clarity to operate within the market. So this is a very relevant concept when we want to jump to the space of collaborative regulation. The fourth point is competition needs to be enabled. Some of the things that were suggested yesterday was, we need interoperability, we need infrastructure sharing. All these things can only be happening if we have the right regulation in place. And if you see ECA's Ethiopian Communication Authorities directives, they're very clear and they have the necessary ground in terms of allowing competition. So what's next? For us, it's about executing those provisions within the respective directives and proclamations by creating dialogues and by creating an ecosystem where we can all thrive. So if I give my assessment, we have an excellent regulatory framework. What we need to do then is, and it again ties back to point two, then we need to find ways in which we implement those laws with, call it proclamation, regulation, or directive, in a manner which helps the industry to grow and helps the the ecosystem to grow. The other thing is, I don't know how many of you saw that ECA recently released the cost study and significant market power designation. These sorts of movements by the regulator, which are very bold and encouraging, showcase, the commitment of the government and the regulator to really open up the market for competition. And these sorts of designations allow new entrants to actually operate, diversify their product and services and connectivity. So regulators truly help in enabling competition by having the right regulations in place, and second, by properly implementing those regulations in place, and also after a certain time, we can also move to the concept of self-regulation, co-regulation. But for that, we as a player also have the responsibility to build the trust within our regulators and also to forge partnership amongst one another to work together on a common agenda. So thank you very much for listening to me. This is what we think collaborative regulation, which we believe bits and pieces of its elements are prevalent within our regulatory framework exist, but we can also do more to reach where other countries are currently. So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much, Dagmawe. A big round of applause, please, for Dagmawe from Safaricom for the